Elizabeth here on the Danny Save DIY channel. Super excited to be a part of this playlist. This is hosted by Miss Jamie of Board or Bananas, and this is Flippin' Friday. Now, I've selected a project that I've swiped from my husband, guys. He wasn't none too happy about it, but you know what? I couldn't read the thing, and it needed an update. So, you guys give me your vote on if you like his or if you like my version. I really appreciate it. Now, in time being, I'll see you back in a minute, but let's get back to the video. Before we get started, we gotta prep our surface, and this is a metal clock. Now, using a calendar from the Dollar Tree, I selected this particular photograph to be my template. And I went ahead and I cut it out, I trimmed it, and I pierced it so that it would fit around the clock. Now, I deliberately selected Folk Art Satin Finish Multi-Surface White Paint, and I put 2 coats on this. And then I used the ink from Waverly and just really, while it was still dirty with the white paint, drug it around the outer part and just let it catch what it can. Now, you guys, this first finish I'm showing you, I have already sketched out in pencil my template. And I went back and I kind of rough draftly sketched the lines. Now, it will take approximately 6 different colors. On this, with a dandelion, you are looking at what they call green gold. So these paint markers that I have in my hand, there is basically a green gold, a lime green, and then a grass green. And you're just going to think about a dandelion. Think about the plant or the item that you are drawing. Imagine it in your mind. If you have to, go outside and pick up this plant, pot, object, whatever, and have it before you and look at the colors. Let them talk to you and tell you what color they are, because each one of them has their own beautiful hue and pigment. And as you can see here, I'm showing you the very first finish. And this, when we are done, will be the blueprint, as I call it. It is the base that is bold and beautiful and simplified. Now, it will take these 3 colors, and with a dandelion, you know how floppy they are. Their stem is very strong and it's hollow, so it's thick at the top and thinner as it gets next to the bottom, but not too thin. And as you see here, I'm actually using a brown paint marker to draw out those bold lines to make them more distinguished and as though it were just a stamp. I'm taking the silver and I am kind of dotting and kind of just swishing around, curving around like little, almost like sketching it with a pencil. I'm using that paint marker instead. Now, the claxes of a dandelion, they come off to a point. They have like a little tutu, as I would call it, underneath them umbrella that holds that big wish ball. So when a dandelion goes mature, it has a wish ball. And this is the first finish, the blueprint, which is perfect. Now, this second stage that we're moving into, you could have stayed at the first stage and you are going to have a beautiful photograph or painting. This second step that I'm putting you through, I'm actually using the Lagoon of the Waverly chalk paint. And I'm basically doing it watered down, just like a watercolor. And this will be our watercolor finish, the second finish that you can stop at. So I'm going and taking back and forth, little by little, and just kind of putting that watered down lagoon in there. But I'm also using a technique here, as you see, with a paper towel. And as I put that paint on, when I see it too bold in a section, while it's still damp, I take my paper towel and I wipe it. That is the reason why I distinctly told you that I am using the white satin finish of the multi-surface folk art paint, because that white background, that base paint, gives us the flexibility to do this technique. That way we can deduct and add on. So here's our second finish, the watercolor. That's what I like to call it, and it is absolutely beautiful just like this. Now, as we move forward, and you notice I keep turning the clock, and if you'll turn the arms on your clock to move them out of the way, it will not lose synchronization and it won't loosen up the works in it. And you can paint around it when it's in the center of a piece like this that you're reworking. So as you can see, I'm adding and deducting, adding and deducting. Now I'm going in with a white paint marker. And this is to heighten some of the areas of shading because this is a glass jar. And I'm trying to mimic how the reflection or shading would be on a glass jar if the light were shining through the back of it. And I want those stems to sit further in the back. They are in the jar. So the rings around the jar top, they are actually going to go across that stem. And you're just barely going to see a reflection of them. And they're actually going to appear wider, just the same as a dandelion stem would look inside of a glass jar. So you do want to pay attention to that. How is it going to look? And you want to carry your lines over. So I've gone back with an actual paint marker that is a teal color that will mimic the lagoon. And I'm tracing out the jar again, simply because I want depth. I want to see the contrast in this jar. And I want the white parts, the reflection of that glass, to stand out more boldly. And this is working towards the third finish, which I call the living. It looks like fresh dandelions have been picked and placed into a glass jar. There's no water in it, or it could be water in it if you want to give that illusion. So at this point, as we move along and progress with the silver paint marker, making the dots, kind of putting some smokiness to the ball of the dandelion, and just making it pop a little more, because the wish ball has a grayish white tint to it. And you've seen them when they're fully mature and the wish ball is full. So this third finish that you're seeing here, that I'm using a black magic marker, this is what I call the living finish. And it's beautiful. Now, to make my painting to look more vintage, I am going back and changing the finish so that you guys can see how you can take your blueprint finish, add to it and take from it, and change it and make it into different finishes until you get to the one that suits you or that you like the most. You can stop at any finish you want, or you can keep adding to it, depending on what appeal you're going for. Now I am adding papillons. That is what the little seedlings that come off of a dandelion when they blow in the wind are called, papillons. And I've added 5, and I've used the silver marker that is reflective of the same as I did on the wish balls to make these papillons. And then on each papillon is the actual seed of a dandelion. So you will see that I will go back and I will actually add some of that green gold color to them, as well as a little bit of brown to reflect the seed on these papillons. And then I go back to the jar and add a little more silver, because now the other paints have dried and I can see what they're truly going to look like. This way I can go in and touch it where I want more detail and where I want it to show up more. And by doing this, by going back over and tracing what you've already traced before with a little bit lighter color, you actually move the jar backwards. It starts going deeper into the background and becoming more boldly as though it's been there for a while, like a vintage print would be. You're going to have areas where there's going to be more contrast and more of a deeper color. And then this way you guys have options on making your own paintings of any kind. And this is the one that I really wanted in my kitchen. My kitchen is mason jar, and this 4th finish is called the vintage. And I love this vintage look. I am all about dandelions. My entire kitchen is decorated in mason jars. And my cabinet colors are blue-green. And I had that paint specially made. Now move your arms around your clock, and that will help you to accurately place your numbers. And number your clock and just add all of your numbers on. Any method you want, if you want Roman numerals, if you want just bold numbers, or if you want to use stickers. Now, I am all about ball cannon jars, and this is what I use when I can. But I did this in pencil because I wanted it to have that gray silver mystique that a number 2 pencil would have. And then that graphite is just going to show up really good and look like the true ball. Now, it's not centered, but I am branding that jar because I'm all about the ball mason jar. I didn't put wide mouth on it, and that's just fine. So I've added my numbers, and I have made them bold. And never forget, always, always sign and date your work. And here she is. Now, it is absolutely gorgeous to me. You guys give me your vote. Do you like the original one, or do you like this updated version that I have put a twist on? Hubby actually ended up saying, yeah, that looks nice. And everybody loved it. So you tell me, which one do you prefer the most? I hope you guys enjoyed this. And here is a still photograph. More to it. She's just beautiful. I love her. Hit that thumbs up. That'll let me know. Any comments or suggestions you know to drop in the box below, because I read each and every one of them. Those of you coming from Jamie's channel, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to view my video. Consider subscribing by hitting the bell. I put up a couple of videos a week, and I do challenges, and you'll be the first to be notified. Now, there's lots to see on this playlist, and just in case you didn't hear the first time, that link is in the description box down below if you don't already see the playlist on your screen. Now, you got a lot to see, so until the next DIY, you guys have a wonderfully dandly crafty day. This is Elizabeth, over and out. Bye, guys.